This PFL final is about to go down. I'm actually watching it. A buddy of mine from I grew up in Northeast Ohio. He's from Western Pennsylvania. His name's Dalton Rasta. He's fighting for the $1 million prize against Leon Edwards' brother Fabian. So I have that in the background. What's up, Dwayne? As you guys are tapping in. Yeah, Dwayne, we were kind of there's been some confusion because it's been a long, crazy week for me, and so I wasn't even going to go live today. I was going to take the day off, but I started getting messages. Everybody was hitting me up. I was like, all right, I'll go live, and so here we are. So as you guys are tapping in, let me know where you're tapping in from. Pedro's here, Dwayne's here. We'll see. I didn't send this link out to anybody. We'll just see if it heats up. What's up, Deshaun Miner? Who you got? Mark versus Jack. Distance. I'll tell you real quick, guys. I put up in the Discord. I gave you guys my long parlay, and then I put it up on YouTube as well. And we still have it cooking. So to answer your question, I'll pull it up. Boxing fan in the house. Yeah, I don't see many upsets going on. I don't see many upsets going on this weekend, boys, just to give you a heads up. I'm taking Rafferty on the money line. I have a parlay built around Rafferty. It should be a good domestic dust-up, Rafferty and Chamberlain. I wouldn't go heavy on any of these bets, boys. Frankie B, cooking parlays as we speak for the Discord. That's what we're doing. That's what we're doing. Everyone's checking in. Boxing fans, my guy. Let's get the likes up. New member, Frankie B. You were right about Nikita. I was wrong. Ned Smith, man. Nobody's 100% right, and nobody's 100% wrong. Appreciate you here. But come on, Ned. I was at those fights. The matchmaking, just like I said, no limit. They think they're slick. Georgie and Matt Rose. Hats off to the boys. But that matchmaking was terrible with Nikita and Zarafa. Deshaun Miner, to join the Discord, all you do is go to my channel on YouTube, and right on my channel, it'll say join. So you become a Johnny Says Boxing Insider on YouTube. It's a couple bucks a month. Then you get access to the Discord. That's where all the boys are. Dwayne Styles, we know you'll be back, big dog. More in the house. What's up, boys? So the Discord's going off right now. I'm currently because the PFL's on, guys. So I have the MMA stream going. I got the Discord going. And we got some boxing. We got a lot of fights this weekend. What's up, Kane? Kane in the house. Australia, stand up. So I'm reading some comments. Chilltown. Guys, Chilltown was supposed to go live. Oh, there he is right there, TJ. I was just going to say, TJ and I were supposed to go live today. We're going to postpone it for another week. So, TJ, what's up? Ortiz versus Lubin. Guys, I like Ortiz versus Lubin. It's weird that online I've been having to defend this matchup on forums, on my channel. And like, we shouldn't have to defend the matchup as if we're fanboys. You know what I'm saying? Like, true boxing fans will know that Erickson Lubin is no joke. This is a good fight, a great matchup. Lubin's only 29 years old, guys. He's been around forever, and the crazy thing about our sport, guys, casuals will only judge fighters on their losses. You know what I'm saying? And if a guy's undefeated, they're gonna take on that persona of the undefeated guy and only judge that guy on his wins. With Lubin, you know, maybe in my opinion, maybe the career was mismanaged a bit. I think that's probably an understatement. 21 years old, he had a lot of hype coming out of the amateurs. I feel they rushed him. They put his hand up to take the Charlo fight. We know how that ended up. And then the fight against Seb, when Seb rearranged his face. But guys, if you rewatch that fight, I mean, Lubin was coming on at the end. You know what I'm saying? It was stopped because he looked like Elephant Man, and you know, the face and the head and the jaw, everything was swollen. And so all I'm saying is, I think I'm happy for Lubin. You know, I think how many title eliminators has Lubin been in? You know what I'm saying? How many times has Lubin been fighting for fights that aren't for world titles? And he puts his hand up all the time. I like this fight. The boys are all tapping in now. Here we go. Ned Smith. I checked ticket prices for Nikita. Yeah. Virgil Ortiz fighting Lubin. Yep. Dwayne Styles. We're not talking. Big dog, Dwayne Styles. I'm not even talking about that because it's not a fight, it's an exhibition. And you know on my channel, we only talk about fights. We only talk about real sanctioned boxing matches. We don't talk about exhibitions and cash grabs and money grabs and sort of events to trick the casual fan base and kind of prostitute our sport for the sake of people to become multi-millionaires. I don't talk about exhibitions on my channel, but I know what you're talking about, Styles. How y'all feel about Wiley? Jake Wiley fighting Yui Dib. I've known Yui since he was a teenager. You know, great kid, great family, good coach. You know, he's coached by Skinny Hussein. He's Billy's younger brother. Yeah, so my money's on Wiley though. Boxing Fan's been a member for a month. 20 viewers, 7 likes. Yeah, we got to get the likes up, boys. His win over Arjuro Holmes. And TJ, people were acting like Arjuro Holmes was a pushover. I mean, Arjuro Holmes is he's a solid pro. And, you know, very tricky guy. This is something that I think this might be a hot take, but I think this is something that holds back American boxing. And this is speaking from an American who lives abroad in Australia, is the fact that, and maybe it's not just an American thing, because I see this corruption happening in Australia too, is there's so many talented, skilled professionals out there, but due to one reason or another, their matchmaking, their promotional company, the lack of promotion, people see their names and, you know, they might get a big fight opportunity and they might lose, and then they just discredit that fighter as like not being that good. But Arjuro Holmes is a solid boxer. Should he move up to 47 to get more fights? Ricardo Velez, no talk of Duran? Or no talk of Maidana? No talk of Miguel Cotto today? Ricardo Velez, you know you're my guy. Rios Vega versus Jones. What do you think? Guys, we'll get to those. We'll get to that parlay in a second. Word is Ramos Jr. is permanently moving to. That's what I heard, Mar. And I think TJ talked about this. I think somebody brought up earlier in the week. Yeah, Jesus Ramos has gone up from 54 to 60. I know they got Ramos still ranked in the 54 sort of sanctioning bodies. Oh, Adames to 68. That's interesting. You know what? If Adames goes to 68, we need Janibek at 68 too, because that division, nobody wants to fight Janibek anyway, so you might as well move him to 68 and leave old man Lara there at 60 to kind of gatekeep. But, I mean, I want to see Janibek. I wanted to see Janibek versus Shiraz at 60. But since Shiraz left to 68, you know, get Janibek up there. Fight him at 68. Today in the Boxing Voice, someone said that he doesn't like the expedition. The expedition. Rio, I don't know what that means, Dwayne. People just complain because promotional companies don't promote their fighters well enough. Yeah, Ramos face. I don't mind the Ramos Mosley Jr. fight. I got to be honest with you. People are gonna hate regardless, right? So no matter what, people are gonna hate. You can't make everybody happy. I kind of have, like I said, in the foreground right here, I'm watching the PFL $1 million title because my buddy's fighting for $1 million at middleweight. Dalton Ross, he's fighting Leon Edwards' brother. So I'm trying. The stream is shitty though. We'll see how that goes. Opinion about better beef of Adames is small. Yeah, guys, Adames was coming up. Adames came up from 47. I still remember the first time. I remember watching Adames spar Bud and that grainy footage that went viral a couple years ago on Twitter. And that was, I think, when Bud was at 40 and Adames was at 47. Adames is a world-class guy. I thought it was quite shocking that they gave Shiraz. Thank God they didn't take his belt from him because that was not a draw. I thought Adames, especially from the 5th round onwards, was outclassed in Shiraz. You know, so moving forward, we'll talk about it. Opinion, better beef and Bivol. Well, we know that Bivol's having surgery, Ned. So Bivol had to go under the knife to repair, I guess, a nagging back injury that he had for years. Guys, a lot of our favorite fighters, a lot of the guys we see fight in both the octagon and the ring, they're all injured. you know, it's very rare that a guy goes into fight night injury free. And then what happens is, because these guys are all savages, you then have a high threshold for pain, and you just allow injuries to kind of build up. You let things pass. You don't get things worked on. And then this was one of the, and then they become sort of deteriorating. And this is one of those things that I think happened with Bivol. He was no longer able to just forget about it. He had to finally have surgery. I like 60, oddly enough. Some of my favorite fighters are there, but I get why. I like 60. I don't have any, it's weird. The only weight class that I'll ever talk shit about is Bridgerweight. That's the only weight class. It's like, why do we got a goddamn Bridgerweight division? What are we doing out here? No one does. Kizo, what's up, buddy? Dude was exhibition. He said Oh, he was thinking about those 24-inch rims. I really like Virgil. I don't hate on the Lubin fight. I think it's a great fight for both guys. Goat says if they have Shiraz, that win, that would have been most. Yeah, I agree. Tella's by stoppage on points, but you think Tella's going to win by stoppage? See, this is where I think the bookies kind of get their money. The bookies are always going to get their money by not only the odds, but, you know, kind of making sort of method of victories juicy. Sal, what's good, Johnny? You're right about Sky knockout. Easy money incoming. Also, we'll be making the trip to the Ortiz-Lubin. You're going to that fight? That's in November, man. Have fun there. TJ says Virgil is one of the best rounds at 54. The names are set. 100%. This is what I'm always, like, I always have to find myself defending Virgil. People are going to think I'm a Virgil fanboy. I'm defending the sport of boxing and trying to educate people when they talk about Virgil's ducking and he's dodging people. I'm like, bro, you've obviously never watched boxing, because all you would ever have to do is watch Virgil fight one time and just watch his fight style to understand that that kid is not dodging anybody. Virgil's one of the best runs. Dalton wins. You think Dalton? Oh, with Rasa. I thought my mind was instantly thinking about the Subriel Matias. Even though I'm watching my buddy Dalton fight right now, you know, our boxing mind, I was thinking about Subriel Matias fighting Dalton, which is coming up as well. Which I think that's an even money fight at this time. Having watched Dalton. He fought about a month ago against Jermaine Mathau, that Canadian who went to the UK and was a huge underdog, and Dalton couldn't get him out of there. And I was kind of thinking, like, shit, after I saw Matias, you know, say what you will about how he scored it, take Playo's belt, I was like, man, I don't know if Dalton Smith is the real deal. I think, you know, Dalton Smith's super athletic. I don't know if he's the real deal. Nicholson knockout line. Yeah, I got on the Nicholson knockout line last night. The funny thing about the Nicholson knockout is that I don't know if the reason why the odds have crashed, because Sky shared my comment. And so when she shared that comment, I think a bunch of people jumped on it. Waiting for the prop. This is a firefight. Oh, somebody got hit in the dick. Boachuk, Madrimov, Lubin, 100% TJ. Dude, and these are guys, TJ, that nobody's putting their hand up to fight. You know, I'm actually good for Brandon Adams, man. Brandon fighting again. We forgot about him. That dude has to wipe the dust off. Him and Boachek are going down again. Johnny, I'd like to see Inoue versus Nakatani. That's what they're selling us, Ned. They're telling us we're going to see Inoue and Nakatani next year. We'll see what happens. Barral never been stopped. I think it's going to be a level thing, though, the Barral fight. That's the MVP card. Johnny, where are you at with Rafferty, Chamberlain? I think that Rafferty, everything I'm watching, I've watched the tape. Guys, so the way I film my Stats Don't Lie videos, I use a Sony A2 Alpha. It's a beautiful camera. As you can tell, the quality on these versus the quality on my Stats Don't Lie videos, a bit different. And, you know, from filming documentaries, I'm very well versed in editing. The reason why I've only put out one Stats Don't Lie video this week, and that was the Nikita Tszyu fight, is because I'm getting that camera worked on. So for now, rather than just doing a Stats Don't Lie video with a lesser quality lens, I'm going to get my camera back on Sunday. So that's why I haven't been able to but you could just ask me. I have Rafferty by decision. Or I have Rafferty on the money line. I might get fancy and take him by decision. Jermaine was in survival mode. Yeah, he was, mate, TJ. And it was frustrating, too. He was in survival mode, but people talk about Dalton like he's that dude. Like, he should have been able to cut the ring off. He should have been able to lure Jermaine into some traps. He definitely looked disinterested. Brandon Adams got the coolest ring. People forget about Brandon Adams, man. He's just a cool cat. Goat says Boacek money line -140. He dominated the first fight. He just got caught. That's easy money. But guys, Goat, man, you know you box. You know the whole he just got caught thing. Yeah, logically when we're breaking down the tape and you're rewatching the fight, but you then have to add that to the mental game, because if you're a guy who understands that you were up on the cards and you get stopped because you just got caught and you get the rematch, you're telling me that's not going to be in his head? Ditchko Franklin is a great fight. You like it, Johnny? I've been getting asked about this fight, boys. This Ditchko Franklin fight. Give me 1 second. Love that fight. Yeah, the book Franklin is active. Yeah, I'm a fan of it. I haven't done film study to give you a prediction though. Yeah, Ned Smith, are you going to give your predictions for UFC on Saturday? So Ned, tomorrow morning. So I don't know if you're in Australia, but the UFC China, there's 2 cards that take place. There's the Road to the UFC, which I'm not going to touch. That's the one in China. There's a Kiwi kind of hot prospect. I think Aaron Tao is fighting on those fights. Dalton Ross is manhandling Edwards right now. And I am going to be doing my predictions for the UFC China card. I heard that Brian Ortega pulled out. Could you guys fact check this for me? Because on the stream yesterday, I told you guys why my beef with Ortega, T-City. I told you what my beef was, how he doesn't do strength and conditioning. And I was like, if Brian Ortega was a little bit more durable, you know, this guy would be way less injury prone. And so just in our Discord, somebody posted that he pulled out. I'm not sure if that's true, though. Goat says, I think Boacek could decision Adams, but I don't have any doubts. You know the thing about Boacek, which I'm not... I'm sure you guys watch Boacek versus Michael Fox. Boacek's body, he's never been super muscular. You know, they call him El Flaco for a reason. You know, Spanish for skinny. But Boacek, I don't want to say, I know he spars a lot, and I know English isn't his first language, and maybe I'm just reaching here, but there's certain things about Boacek when I watch him hit the bag, hit the pads, what he looked like against Michael Fox. It kind of makes me think, is his central nervous system, his wiring, getting a bit sort of fried a bit from his fight style over the years? So I wouldn't be too quick. I don't know. Maybe I'm just overlooking that. I wonder if anybody else picked that up when you watch Boacek, because I watch a lot of his interviews, hearing him talk. English isn't his first language, so he kind of has this sort of tick about him. And I'm always thinking, is this dude, is he getting, because when you get head trauma, some of the first signs of obviously long-lasting head trauma is kind of a stutter, a tick, and you get that when your central nervous system is fried and when you cut a lot of weight. You know what I'm saying? So, I don't know. He doesn't look like the same guy to me. Boacek doesn't look... He's lost that... even a couple fights ago, he was more youthful in a non-birth certificate way. So there's just how he's looked. I mean, the Virgil fight, he took a lot of damage, but even before the Virgil fight, he took a lot of, it's his style, and I don't know, man. He's already in his 30s, I think. What, 30, 31? Ditchko can really punch. Interested to see the Hart odds. Me too, Mar. I think Khalil Ko, man, he got my respect after seeing how he came back in the rematch and starched old boy in Mexico. Good point. I picked up Kane in the house. He has a tick for sure. Yeah, he went heavy on I went heavy on Fox to take. Oh, Kane, the big dog. That's a nice little bet. I mean, the fight. I think what did Sarah? He weighed in at 158, I think, for that fight. Goat. That's how I feel about Kevin Johnson. Yeah. KJ's been in there. I mean, he's never been stopped. Kevin Johnson's a guy that, dude, these boys are banging. The boys are swinging. Sorry, boys. If you guys are watching the PFL, the boys are throwing hands. But, yeah, Kevin Johnson, and he never really got that payday, did he? Dude, combat sports is so brutal. He be talking like something's wrong with him sometimes. Fox is a tricky guy. He is. Yeah, they brought Team Zoo brought Michael down here to Sydney for about a month to train with Tim. Bo Styles damage prone. It doesn't last, mate. We see it, we see it all the time. Mike Ross, I got the Sky stoppage early. Get after it. I got it at 225 yesterday. So we'll see. I'll be doing so long. Ned, if you're still on the stream, tomorrow's stream, I'm going to be going over my specific UFC locks. I do want to talk about there's a couple Australian cards. There's a couple. There's fights in Brisbane with Yui Dib and Jake Wiley, but there's another card with a really good prospect. I don't know if you guys watch women's boxing. May Solomon. May Solomon's fighting. And so, yeah, there's a lot of boxing this weekend. The British card, obviously, the UK card. Saw Fox at the Neutral Corner promotion events. Had to show him the vet IRL and say thanks. Is that Boa versus Adams at 54.60? Good question. Ned, I'm from Parramatta. Oh, nice. Para in the house. You and other boys on the chat have big boxing knowledge. All right, good, man. You're welcome here. It's good to have you. We were just talking about when I went to the fights, Ned, Wednesday night, because my boy's from Penrith. He's a big Penrith fan, NRL. And he was talking about, I forget his name, the legend who played for Parramatta, the Eels, like in 2014 to 2021. Big athletes, shaved head, skinhead guy. And he was telling me he's playing like regional rugby now in, I think, Wellington. But anyway, little side rant. Ned from Para in the house. Yeah, so you'll be UFC China. I'm gonna bring the odds up real quick. The more I watch tape, I'm leaning Rafferty versus Chamberlain under 10. Rafferty's style is it's a fun style, and I don't know. I generally don't like to play the whole. People are saying, you guys have heard of it on all the channels about Chamberlain losing the fight to. I'm sorry, I'm getting a little bit distracted. Chamberlain's loss when he lost to Padley and how he wasn't able to recover from it, how psychologically he's going to take that into the ring. And generally, I wouldn't really sort of play that game. But watching, Fight Week, watching the YouTube interviews that they had of both Rafferty and Chamberlain, it kind of looks like that. I think the odds have it right, is where I'm getting at. With Rafferty being the dollar. Right now, he's $1.40. The odds haven't moved at all either. They've been $1.40 all week, meaning you put 100 on Rafferty, you get your money back plus 40. The draw 16 to 1. Chamberlain's a 325. 100 on him gets you 225 back. So not, a little bit more than a 2 to 1 dog. How about, what's crazy is Lynn Sandstrom being that close of a, like, I managed Lynn Sandstrom for 2 fights. She's fighting a girl named Jasmine Ortega. It's on the MVP card, okay? Ortega's $1.38. Sandstrom's $3.35. Lynn cannot box. Like, no offense, Lynn. Lynn was a table tennis player, mate. And she's trained by Tony Del Vecchio at Bondi Boxing. I think this is crazy that the odds are that close. That's all I'm going to say. I don't bet on Lynn Sandstrom ever because, like, her best attributes as a fighter is, kind of headbutting. She leads with her head. Not a natural athlete. Anyway, I'm looking at the updated odds. I'm like $1.38 on Ortega adds nice value to a parlay. That's all I'm talking about. Yeah, and Jasmine Ortega is good. That's what I'm saying. Lynn is not good. The best thing this isn't supposed to sound misogynistic either though, but Lynn's claim to fame was, the weigh-ins. If you go back to 2021 during the pandemic when the whole world was kind of locked up, she kind of went viral with her weigh-ins. This kind of started the whole, like, Ebony Bridges was wearing like the lingerie, but Lynn came out and, like, just go look at it. You'll see what I'm talking about. And then, so Lucas Body, obviously on the long parlay I gave you boys, I got Body on the money line. I got Yankiel. It's weird seeing people talk about Yanko Rivera and second guessing him. I think this is going to be a perfect example of levels when you think about, because you could look at Angelino Cordova and look at him like shadow. You could look at Cordova hitting the bag. You could look at Cordova's highlights. But when you dive deeper into what he's done, who he's fought, I think he's a 15-2 guy. You look at he's beaten, I think, one or two guys with winning records. So what you're going to see with Yankiel is you know you're going to have a guy who's super fast, super skilled, reflexes, and I think you're going to see levels in that fight. Because I've actually heard guys on YouTube saying that Yankiel should be on upset alert against Cordova. I'm like, what are you guys seeing that I'm not seeing? I'm not seeing that. Goat says, I seen you say Lynn's best attribute is her toughness. It is. She has 2 knockouts. This fight is completely free money. Yeah. The bookies are handing out donations with this fight. Yep. It is her toughness. They are handing out donations. This is crazy. So, I mean, if you were to take... Yeah, they're not giving me a method of victory. But if they were giving me options, Jasmine Artiga by decision, that's what I would take. Because Lynn is super tough. And you know, she's a sweet person, and I'm not trying to talk shit about her. But during the pandemic, what we saw was a lot of girls who were into fitness come and start boxing. And she's one of those. She was a table tennis player. She wasn't a fighter. And but, you know, I was with her for 2 camps. And, you know, I was at all of her training sessions, all of her sparring sessions. She sparred with some good pros. She sparred with some good amateurs. She's super tough and gritty. So I could see Artiga winning a decision here. I'm not getting those odds. If you could get Artiga by decision, that's what I really like. Cordova did well against Cesar Martinez minus the 2 knockdowns. It was close. Also, what do you think about Jake Wiley and Yusuf? Yeah, what's up, UMG in the house? So like I talked about this fight earlier in the week. Oh! Oh! Oh, my God. Head kick done. I can't believe we just saw that. Rasta gets knocked out just like Leon Edwards knocked out. You can't make this shit up. We're living in a simulation. Rasta's still out cold on his back. Exactly when Leon Edwards knocked out Kamaru Usman, down on the cards, lands a head, same exact strike. It's insane what just happened. It's insane. Fabian Edwards just hit. And what did Leon say? He goes, head kick, 1 shot, done, or something like that. This is insane. This is going to go viral. You guys are going to see it all through the house. Poor Dalton. Dude, MMA is so goddamn brutal. Poor Dalton. Hopefully he's okay, man. Damn, it's a brutal sport. Anyway, I'm switching gears. If you could take Artiga by decision, I would take Artiga by decision. I was talking about Jake Wiley and Yusuf. I'm friends with Yusuf Dib. He comes from a great camp. We know about his brother. We know about Skinny Hussein's his coach, good pro. I think Skinny was brothers with Hussey Hussein. If you guys are true boxing fans, Hussey fought Jorge Arce twice, and the first fight was one of my all-time favorite fights ever. I shared it in the Discord. So this is Yui Dib. This is where he comes from. He fought Liam Wilson a couple times. And I heard Gary on his stream say that, you know, he said something about Liam Wilson not being a big puncher. I mean, I kind of would have disagreed. Dude, Liam could crack. So I was like, Liam's left hook, he's known for his left hook. Liam could punch, dude. He knocked out Navarrete, but they gave Navarrete a 27-second count. So anyway, I think Wiley will be a little bit too big, a little bit too much for... I think Wiley will be a little bit too big, a little bit too much for Yui. I'm just watching the highlights. This is insane what just happened. The same exact head kick. Same exact head kick, dude. It's crazy. Holy shit. High Interest. What's up, buddy? Checking in. We appreciate you here, High Interest. Keys in the house. Another Edwards head kick is insane. How do these guys really have trademarked the lead kick up top? Dalton is just shocked. Jesus, tough sport, mate. This is such a brutal sport. Combat sports are insane. This is why nobody should ever talk shit about any fighters. You know what I mean? Every time I catch somebody talking shit or calling fighters bums or cans, I'm gonna get after them. I was like, you guys are to even go after a career in combat sports, man, it's such a tough road with real life, long term consequences to our health, which is insane. But Dalton just, that head kick was timed. Gorgeous. Beautiful. I'm sure some of you boys got up. What are your thoughts on the Tellez fight? Yeah, good question. I like that fight. Obviously, I have Tellez on the money line. But, so guys, I don't know if TJ's still on the chat. And, you know, if Goat's here and to everybody else who's tapping in. does anybody else do what I do? So, for instance, when I have, I think a couple guys are locks and I'm ready to go heavy on them, I know some bettors are keep to themselves sort of guys. They're not going to go out of their own sort of intuition and ask for opinions. I don't know if it's because, my background in psychology, having to use like the scientific method to do experiments as a young kid. But my point is, I went to a friend and asked me to sell me on how Tellus loses. Like, I have Yanis Tellus winning the fight. I was like, and this guy's like 70 years old. So one of the guys I turned to, he doesn't have a computer. I think he's 71, old school boxing guy from Youngstown, Ohio, from my hometown. And he watches every fight. He knows every fight from like Henry Armstrong, like Homicide Hank, 1930s era. So I was like, sell me on Yanis Tellus losing. And so what he did was, he was talking about Abbas Barrow and his style and how he's not, Tellus is going to lose if he gets out of his game plan. He was going to say Tellus is going to lose if he gets emotional. Tellus is going to lose if he's going to rush his work. And then sometimes when fighters, the opposite of that, if they get emotional and they get frustrated, then they stop throwing. And then if they're fighting a guy with volume, then they could, let rounds slip away. I'm like, damn, dude, you just gave me 3 reasons to second guess Yanis Tellus. I was like, should we be worried? He's like, no. He was like, he thinks he's that good. He's like, he might not be ever become an undisputed world champion like some people believe he will be, but he thinks he's a level above Barral. So, and Abbas Barral, you look at who he's fought. I'm sure you guys have done your film study. This past week was crazy on UFC fights. Yeah, I mean, I hit all the fights yesterday. So I went 100% on the Dana White Contender Series fights, but the UFC pay-per-view, boy, that shit was I told you boys, I don't really bet the UFC pay-per-views. I'm a fight night guy. My personal locks are Zach Miller, Rafferty Moneyline, Jake Wiley, yeah. 250 is great, UMG. I have a very similar ticket. I think I threw Sky on that, by the way. So I don't have Miller, but I have Rafferty Moneyline, Wiley Moneyline, and then I have Sky Nicholson by knockout. And I got her yesterday at 250 plus those odds. Tellus gonna box his head off Cuban style with some power. Yeah, and Skeezy, that's why I like who our boy. If Coach Bermudez is an insider. He's one of our Johnny Says Boxing insiders. He's in our Discord. He coaches Polanco, and he coaches, who's the other Cuban? Why am I forgetting his name? Aggressive puncher, frames his punches here. We just saw him fight. I'm pissed off I can't remember his name. But that's what we're starting to see. The Cubans are starting to dispel the myth of like just being movers, just using the ring to just move, but punching more. Not Rohan. Who else is in that camp? There's Polanco, and then yeah, no, it's not Rohan. Because am I tripping? Isn't Rohan Dominican? Where's Polanco? I'm thinking of a Cuban fighter. Yen Lee. Yeah, Yo-Yo. Mar got me. Mar got my back. Yen Lee, Yo-Yo. Yo-Yo Hernandez is who I was talking about. Yeah, there it is. That guy. But yeah, he does this one. I love a guy who throws that high guard, uses it to frame, uses it to, just even using the high guard in the pocket is so technical. You know what I'm saying? If you're going to use it to frame, if you're going to use it to counter, if you're going to use it to bully, if you're going to use it to clinch, it's so technical, and you don't see a lot of younger fighters use it. You know what I'm saying? I love a guy who can move and who can punch, who's using that high guard. It's not like he stays there either. He uses it as a tool in his tool belt. He's in camp with Canelo right now. Huh. That's why you're the GOAT. I hit ball decision, Hamzat money line. Hamzat was just so dominant, wasn't he? MVP money line, nice, man. Ituama, that's a nice win for you, UMG. It's a nice little hit for you. Eddie, like 6'4", I'm 6 feet. I got chance. Rohan wants Ramirez. They was talking about one another. Huh. Yeah, Rohan. I like Rohan's energy at the moment, Polanco. You know what I mean? Because he has his, he has a loyal fan base and people are high on him. I'm one of those. But with those fans, you're going to get haters. And so you see, and he's young. He feels he's unproven. He wants all the smoke. I think Rohan Polanco is going to be one of those guys that as he levels up against higher level opposition, that will bring the best out of him. That's not always the case with guys. Sometimes, the lights are too bright and, they have. I think Polanco's one of those guys who's going to step up really well. Muscles loves Rohan Polanco. So Muscles, you guys will know him from the channel. He's real high on Polanco. And in Polanco's last fight, he felt that Polanco should have got the stoppage, and because he won a decision, he was saying that he was doubting him. And I was like, bro, trust me, it's going to come down to Polanco matchmaking, putting him into a firefight, having somebody test him, seeing not everybody could come back from the dead. Not everybody could be the nail. You know what I'm saying? I think with his style, he looks like a guy that could be in some exciting fights. Matchmaking will be interesting with him. You ever watch Mark Dickinson? Rings a bell. I swear I've covered Mark Dickinson on the channel before. Mankey, tell me about him. Skeezy says, tell his money line, Ortega money line, 1,000. Ooh, now we're talking, boy. That's a 55% return rate, Skizzy. I like you bringing the statistics and math. That's what we're talking about. If you got the bankroll, if you got the bank account, if you're not chasing dude, don't chase your losses. We get a lot of professional gamblers on the channel. In our Discord, we have a lot of pro bettors, so they're giving you their tips too, not just mine. You're getting the parlays. And so this is how they think, how Skeezy's thinking here. He's looking at percentages. Dare I say, I would never say this in front of my buddies who, work, on Australia's Wall Street. I would never say return of investment in front of them. But when you're looking at because it's fucking gambling. So is stocks, though, in a way. Stocks are definitely gambling, but anyway, I digress. When you're looking at the return, $1.55, that's a 55% return rate. When you're looking at the risk, Teller's money line, Ortega money line, those are those are locky as fuck. You know what I mean? So Skeezy's 1,000 on a 55% gets him his money back plus 555. But you put 10 G's on that, you're getting 5,500 back. Kiza says apparently Ortega fight back on. Oh, it is back on. So the whole he got rushed to the hospital was just BS? It must be a lightweight now. That dude's but we know Ortega, man. He's so the opposite of durable. I don't want to call him fragile, but in terms of like cage fighters, it's always bothered me that he doesn't do strength and conditioning. I ranted about this yesterday on the live stream. I'm not going to do it again. Polanco pushing back opponents during their beatdown is savage work. Yeah, boxing fan, that's what I'm talking about. Hot take, but I think Polanco's going to be a tougher fight for Norman than Haney. Bro, let's hope they all fight. I'm still not convinced we're going to see Dev versus Norman. Guys, I'm sure we got boys in the chat older than me, and we got boys in the chat who are teenage amateur boxers, right? So I'm 43. Where I'm getting at with Goat's comment about hot take, I think Polanco is going to be a tougher fight for Norman than Haney. My comment is made, I'm still hesitant that we're not going to see it. I got PTSD from all the years of watching boxing my whole life, and things act like they're going to happen, they don't happen. I don't want to get too excited. And so I think I want to see all three of them fight. Polanco pushing back. Yeah, we got there already. I was taping that Norman-Haney fight, and I seriously think Haney gets ran through. I just don't think at this stage of the game, Devin Haney's movement and speed. Well, then again, Goat, man, the style is interesting in terms of, we have seen Norman level up since the Gio Santillan fight. You get and then Cuevas, you get a gold belt wrapped around your waist. You're going to level up just out of just human nature, you're leveling up. But some of the holes fundamentally with Brian Norman Jr., sometimes getting out of position when he punches, sometimes getting caught with his hands down, sometimes not using his jab to lead in, coming in naked sometimes. Now, granted, Dev's not a big puncher. We know that. But Devin's strengths are going to be his footwork and his speed and his timing. So does Norman get caught in this sort of, my first boxing coach as a kid, he would call it a grandfather clock. You know how a grandfather clock goes like this, and then you get caught in a trap. You get caught coming in, and then before you know it, you're in the web, sort of. He'd say you get caught in the spider web. Floyd Mayweather did this at the highest level better than anyone had ever done. And so, like, you come in, you miss, you're off balance, and then you get countered. And then you reset, you come in, you throw a combo, you might land one, but then you get countered, angle off. And all of a sudden, your whole aggression and your power is being used against you, and you're getting teed off on. And rounds are going by, and you're getting more frustrated, and you're taking more risks. And then later in the fight, you're getting more frustrated, and then you get caught, because, not a big puncher, doesn't have one punch knockout power. Norman's not going to respect the power. He's not going to be fearful of getting knocked out with one punch. But 9, 10 rounds in of getting tapped and countered, down on the cards, your corner's there saying, "What are you doing? You're blowing it." You got to think about these things. We've seen this happen before. That's all I'm saying. And it's tough to forget that Devin Haney knows how to box. Yeah, no, Brian could crack, dude. And Brian Norman Jr. is one of my favorite fighters at this time. I was an early adopter to Brian Norman Jr., mate. Even when he was an underdog against Gio, I was saying I was taking Norman. And then Cuevas, we hit huge by the stoppage, which sounds, looking back, it's like, oh, that's not a good call. Everybody said that. No, it was plus money, Brian, by stoppage, because Cuevas hadn't got stopped yet. And all the boys back home in America, a lot of the East Coast content creators were saying that Cuevas was the biggest puncher. He's not going to get stopped. And then we got, even when Brian stopped Jin Sasaki, we saw that coming, but people were like, oh, that was an easy pick. It was plus money. I hit a plus 600, Brian to win by knockout under 6. And he did it, I think it took him 5.5. And so all I'm saying is I've been an early adopter. When I'm questioning the path to victory against Devin, I think it's important for every logical fight fan and everybody who spends one dime of their hard-earned money to bet on a fighter. You got to look at both sides. You can't just be impulsive. He's gonna dog walk him. He's gonna knock him out. Devin Haney's a pussy. You can't. I don't roll that way. That's not how I go. That's not how I operate, at least. I'm gonna get Haney. I'm gonna bet Haney UD to experience. See, this is what I'm talking about, Money Meats. This is a valid point, and I guarantee, Money Meats, if you take that comment, I bet you there's some channels that would torch you for that. Or is that, I don't know. Is that the sexy pick? I don't watch other. The content creators online that I watch have like 100 subscribers, 1,000, 2,000. I think Gary's the biggest. He has, I think, close to 3,000. My point is, maybe the mainstream YouTubers are saying that Haney's going to win. Is that what they're saying? Let's see what the odds are. I have no idea. Like who are the big, like which showbiz saying, and what's the other? What are those sort of guys? That sort of tier of boxing content creators. Are they saying that Haney's going to win, or are they saying that Brian's going to knock him out? I'm actually really interested. So yeah, that's what I was doing, Goat. I was pulling up the odds. I don't even see. They're not. Sports Bet isn't even letting us. Ooh, Lewis Crocker and Patty Donovan. Let's go. All right, Norman Jr., Haney, the odds right now. Yeah, Devin's an underdog right now. Skeezy says, if Norman lands, it's good night. Jorge Linares almost dropped Haney with a short right. Skeezy, true, but Devin was cutting a lot of weight. That was at what, 30, 35? Boxing fan. We do betting. No, Julius, Jack Turner, big nasty knockout this weekend. Yeah, I got Jack too. Julius, are you getting? What book do you have that's allowing you to take that knockout? I like it though. Makey says, but we did say Norman was going to do dog walk Jin. Yes, we did. UMG, by the way, Johnny, do you think Canelo knocks out Crawford? I think it has good odds for it. Ooh, UMG, we're going to have whole episodes on this exact topic, man. I don't want to get into it now because I have so much to say. It's a great question, right? My best friend I grew up with since we were 7 years old. We grew up in Youngstown, and we talk every day, voice memos about, we've been talking about Crawford and Canelo for like literally since when Crawford stopped EJ and went on Joe Rogan and said he wanted the Canelo fight, that was probably August of 2023. My buddy and I have been talking behind the scenes about how it's gonna play out. So we'll talk about it, mate. We'll talk about it. Can I see Bud get knocked out though? Man, it's so hard for us to envision something that has never happened. And UMG, to put an exclamation point on that, I'll give you a little quick story. Maybe you know, maybe you don't. But at one time in the world of general fitness, it was somewhere in the 1950s. The benchmark of cardio fitness was I think it was the 4 minute mile. And maybe you could fact check me on some of these stats, but my intent is proper. So I think the benchmark of fitness was the 4 minute mile, and there was a British runner, I think his name was either Richard or Roger Bannister. He broke it. He ran a sub 4 minute mile, first one to ever do it. That same year when he did it, I think 17 people did it. So my point was, up until that time, the record was the record because nobody had done it. Nobody had proof that it could happen. The minute it happened, everybody did it. It's hard for me to see Bud get knocked out against Canelo because we've never seen it. And generally in boxing, what do they say? When you start in combat sports, when you start getting stopped, when you get stopped once, it starts happening more and more. Those two aren't mutually exclusive to my story. My intent was, it's hard for me to vision something that has never happened before. Showbiz betting advice will have your pockets. Yeah, I've never watched the Showbiz channel ever. So you guys told me about Showbiz. I don't give Haney much of a chance. Goat doesn't give him much of a chance. Big channel's got Norman. That's so interesting. So see, that's what I was probably going to say. The big channels would take Norman because it's the sexier thing to do. I think he gets ran completely through. Showbiz Betty and Vice Markets. Devin cannot take a punch. The durability, yeah, you got to talk about it. But you said he has Bambi legs, but he's never been stopped. You know, he got up every time. Pitbull, there's something to that. You're a guy who gets dropped a couple times in a fight and you keep getting up and lose a close split decision against a guy who missed weight and popped dirty. I mean, to me, that's a durable guy. I mean, there's two sides to your comment. He has Bambi legs, but hey, you could say that motherfucker's durable. You know, he was getting hit against a juiced up, overweight dude who missed weight, and he kept getting up, and that dude couldn't stop him. You know what I mean? So there's two ways to look at that. I love the Canelo 7-12 odds. It's a great price for some. Yeah. So we are bettors. We are going to bet on the game. So then part of our job is also not to just look for a winner or a loser. We're architects. We always talk about. Maybe we'll sell my first T-shirt merch. Will be something along. Architect is too many letters, but something along the lines of like being like an archaeologist or architect with boxing gloves, or betting signs or money, because our job is to find through research and excavation our best opportunity to make money. So what Goat's saying there holds relevance. I love the Canelo 7-12 odds. It's a great price for something so possible. Keep that in mind. It's a great point. Daniel says, let's not forget Haney got up 3 times. Perfect. I did. Yep. So I'm just catching up to your chat. What's up, Chris B? Johnny, I think Bud gets stopped the exact same way Berlanga got dropped. Yeah. I'm not commenting on that fight because I was so off. I went against my own instinct with Berlanga and Shiraz. I use my emotional disdain for Turkey Al-Sheikh to bet against Shiraz. Kenyan's been running sub 4 minute miles. But you know what Mankey, so you're saying, so before Bannister, what's the Wikipedia say though about Roger Bannister in the 4 minute mile? I'm sure somebody wrote something about it. I'm sure I didn't make that up is my point. If that's the case, Mankey, they're coming out with evidence. They measured these sort of footprints that date back here in Australia to the Aboriginals here, I think like 300,000 years ago. And they measured them because they were fossilized, and they measured the space and distance, and they calculated how fast they were running. And what they calculated would be like currently the fastest sort of sprint of anybody ever recorded. Every time Devin Haney gets hit with a clean punch, he looks like Bambi. Who do you think, by the way, Dave Allen or Asper? it could go either way, man. Every time I bet against Dave Allen, I lose my money. That's all I'm gonna say. Canelo money line is definitely pocket heavy. Yeah. So I mean, it's tough to argue that one. We're gonna get into it in the next month, though. We got a super chat in the house. Boxing fan with the super chat. Boys, the super chats mean more to me than you guys will ever know. It's not about the dollar. It's about the idea that we're creating a community here, that you guys invest into the community. It shows the credibility of what we're doing. So thank you, boxing fan. Haney can box, but I always questioned his shin after Linares. Yep. Ryan answered it. Norman seems like the perfect storm. Nice. Great use. Great allegory as well. Norman seems like the perfect storm. I don't think he'll get through it. It's kind of poetic what he says there. Haney could box, but I always questioned his chin after Linares. Ryan answered it. Norman seems like the perfect storm. I don't think he'll get through. Well written, mate. From an author to a guy that I respect, man. I like. Do you write? That's a good way of writing. You don't see many comments written that way. Maybe we get you versus the MMA guru soon. Who is the MMA guru? Fill me in, King Picks. I know you remember this song, Johnny. Devin got up 3 times. Punks jump up to get beat down. Jump up to get... Yeah, of course, Pitbully. OG. He did get... But what were the scorecards, Bully? Somebody, what were the scorecards? I'm not being facetious. I'm not being a dick. I'm not being passive here. Weren't they a split? This is 100%. Weren't the scorecards a split decision for Ryan? That's my take on it. High interest. Devin will try to get Norman to chase him, get off balance, and pick him apart. That's what I'm talking about, high interest. I could see that playing out. UMG, just a bit shocked on how Canelo and Crawford odds are way too close. Agree. For a guy come up 2 divisions and fighting the best guy at 68 and also getting up there in age. Bud turns 38, I think, in November. Canelo, 34, 35. Guys, my favorite Bud Crawford fight, I mean, obviously, you got to love the EJ performance at 47. But I loved the fight at 35 against Ricky Burns. I always bring up the Ricky Burns fight because Bud was already doing those sort of home shows in Omaha. I'm pretty sure he had already sold out multiple times in Omaha. And then he goes over to the UK. I think that was in Ireland. Let me just double check. But that was at 135 pounds. It's so hard maybe it's because I'm, a coach myself and I deal with clients on a one-on-one basis with strength training and weight loss and weight management. So it's hard for me logically to get past the 21 pounds from just 47 to 68. It's hard. It's tough for me to bypass that, mate. Pedro, blueprint with boxing ring and boxing gloves. Huh. Nice idea. Yeah, Pedro. That's exactly right. But what's the blueprint look like when we're talking about marketing as well? You know what I mean? Because you got to think, every sort of entrepreneur, I've worked with in the past, investors, when we're at the storyboarding phase of pitching an idea or creating a product, you then have to take the idea and think about it. It's, shrinking it down to what does that idea look like as a logo? So the whole minimal approach. So a blueprint with a boxing ring and a boxing gloves, minimizing that, it's a good, you got me though. That's exactly how I'm thinking. James Drummond in the house. What's up, buddy? Mankey crazy. Yeah, I know what you mean about psychological records. Uh-huh. That's right. My issue with Haney isn't as much of a chin issue. It's more of a skill issue, surprisingly enough. Devin is bad at a few things. You know what Devin's bad at, Goat? The thing I hate the most about the thing I hate the most about Devin Haney's skills is what nobody ever talks about. His right hand is horrible. His backhand. What Devin Haney doesn't do, so, he's a world champion. I'm not saying I do this better. We are dissecting technique. So I'm not trying to say I do this better than Devin Haney. It's how he throws his backhand. He doesn't. So when you're throwing your right hand, this is from a technical side, you're supposed to lock out your tricep. So, I'm sure everybody knows the tricep from the elbow to the shoulder. Anatomically, From the elbow to shoulder, for instance, guys who go to the gym, they only train their biceps. And I always tell them, if you want big arms, train your triceps. The tricep is 70% of the surface area of the arm from shoulder to elbow. The bicep is only 30%. So you want bigger arms, train the tricep. When you're boxing and you're throwing your backhand, what you want to do is lock out that tricep on contact. So when you're learning to punch, other than using the shoulder finishing to protect the chin here, you've thrown a nice straight backhand across when the tricep locks. And over time, and as you're drilling and you become, it becomes second nature. He throws his right hand, he kind of slaps his right hand. He does like this thing. You never see him turning it over. And it drives me freaking insane how he throws his right hand. Damn, there's so much to talk about. You boys are on fire. How am I going to get to all these comments? You guys are going crazy. Guys, like the video. The best way for me to get these, maybe there's so many, is Rios Alive Doll. And I don't want to read them out loud because people who are going to rewatch this are going to think we're insane. Sal's Blog Talk says, so what I'm going to do is focus on the Johnny Says Boxing Insiders. So all you guys on the chat, when you see the boys with the blue stars, these are members in our Discord. So join our Johnny Says Boxing Insider group here on YouTube. It's a couple bucks a month. Get the blue star. Come to our Discord. And boys who are in the Discord, if you haven't done, I don't know if there's no way you should be able, you got in without doing this, but if your membership or you didn't repay, just do that for me. Right now we have on an honor system. So I'm going to cover the blue star boys, the JSB Insiders. Sal says, people don't respect the actual smoke Devin wants. 100%. Rando says, Canelo just made 35 a few days ago. So he's 35. Boxing fan says, I can't talk crazy with the JSB fam. These guys are boxing wizards. Nobody wants to get out of pocket. Oscar from the Bay says, I think we'll have a preview of how Canelo versus Crawford would look from seeing the Lester versus Mabili fight first, since Lester is Crawford's main sparring partner. That's hard to do, though, mate. You know what I'm saying? That's hard to do. It's tough to do that. I respect the idea, but it's tough to kind of, remove and kind of use somebody else's performance as a forecast or suggest how another guy is going to perform against another guy. There's just so many factors, but I see your points. The Elvis going the distance at least. I got him on the money line. I'm not getting sexy with that, Julius. Henry Williams, Big Johnny out here. Who is the best player, most locks? I got all of them. I think body, believe it or not, might be the riskiest. Dude, I remember Bud versus Jose at 47, his best performance. Yeah, that was a fun fight, too. There was a lot of them, Chris. There were a lot of them. I think I always go back to the one at 35 because I feel that one kind of like for Crawford and everything that he was coming through at the time and not getting mainstream media opportunities, not being promoted or propped up. He had to go to the UK to do that against a really world-class guy in Ricky Burns. Do your research. Ricky Burns is a legit, I think, 2-division world champion. He came, I think he finished at 35, but I think he started maybe at 26. Lester Mabili fight of the year. I can't wait for that fight. Yo, I literally just saw the Dalton Ross. Yeah, he did. He did. Dalton he got pieced up. UMG, we don't talk about exhibition fights on this channel, UMG. We don't talk about any exhibition fights on this channel. That's all I'm going to say. High interest. Don't forget, Johnny, Canelo's an imposter at 68. He didn't fight the elite at 68, 168 pounders like Benavidez. But high interest. To every coin, there are two sides, my friend. So what I would say that to you is that he didn't fight the elite 168 pounders, but is David Benavidez a true 168 pounder? Or was that kid walking around at 220, 215, cutting to 168? Two sides to every coin. And personally, mate, nobody likes me when I say this, but I never wanted to see Benavidez versus Canelo anyway. I think I was one of the only guys saying I don't want to see that fight. UMG, Nope. UMG, nope. Goat says his right hand is bad. He lacks offensive creativity. He also lacks a high guard, which is never good. One of the reasons Resendez beat Plant. Yes. Goat, my biggest issue with Devin is actually that versus Norman, he might be too tough for his own good. Pitbull. Goat says, Johnny, you starting to pop off. Comments going to start getting more and more hard to read. They are getting hard to read. Fellas, lock in. Boxing fan, pop super chat to get your important questions highlighted. Mr. Reed, Johnny, I got a fire parlay. Mr. Reed, share it then, big dog. Mr. Reed out here the last few weeks hitting on mixed parlays with MMA, boxing method of victories. Bud turns 38 in September. That's right. Lives like a samurai, though. Rando lives like a samurai. You gotta tip your hat, like the lifestyle. You never see Bud out of shape. Goat says, Johnny, if Yankill loses, you're gonna ban all. I didn't want to say it, Goat. I'm gonna ban all. I didn't want to say it. Yeah. So Bejo, so 3-division world champion. He won a title at 40 and lost to Indigo. Okay. So did he? Where did Ricky start at 26? UMG, it's because exhibition matches aren't boxing matches. You know what I'm saying? So I didn't cover Paul versus Mike Tyson. I didn't think that Manny should have been sanctioned to fight Mario, so I didn't cover that fight. So I try to keep it, there's no way I'm covering Tank Davis versus Jake Paul, dude. No way. I'm not even going to talk about it. I'm not going to waste any mental space for that BS. Tank Davis has never fought a current world champion at 135. That's all. You're going to make me go on a rant. Tank's never fought a current world champion. How does that not drive people insane? Yanko is risky. I know. I'm trying. See? I know. I love that the chat's just as educated as we all are. Albert Badargaziev, Galalia Fai, Umiha in France. We just saw Fonseca beat Umiha as well. Umiha was a less than 15. Here's the narrative. An Olympian who has less than 15 pro fights goes into a fight as a big favorite against a 35-plus pro vet. In the last 3 months, we've seen it happen again, time and time again, multiple times. Mr. Reed. He started 26. Okay. Yeah, good looking out though, Pedro. I didn't know I didn't know that Ndongo fight was at 140. Tank never held a Ring Magazine belt. Yep. I eat, sleep. Robert in the house. I eat, sleep, and drink boxing. I'm 40. Welcome. Yeah, you've been in this. Robert Floss. Hopefully you're having a good day. I know Robert's excited for that Crawford-Canelo fight. Big on Crawford. Robert, do you think Bud? I know Robert, you're a Crawford guy. Does Bud decision him? How do you see the fight playing out? Pedro, first title was at 30. Okay. So he went down. You don't see many guys going down to win titles. You know what I mean? So when I was doing my homework on an Australian legend, Tony Mundine, I'm talking the father. Tony's son, Anthony, was an NRL player, really good athlete at that. When he started boxing, he was winning Australian titles going down weight classes. And I remember researching that, and then it took me down a rabbit hole of how many boxing world champions have won multiple world titles at a weight class, an original weight class, and won multiple world titles going down, losing weight. You don't see it a lot. I'm not saying it's never happened. You just don't see it a lot. I was just saying that because I feel really at 154, 160 Crawford is 147, 154. It's a good point. Goat says, if you have FanDuel, take Yankiel over. Better odds slightly in a lock. I love Yankiel in this fight, guys. I do. I do like him in this fight. I'm glad he's getting a feature. I think a conversation should be had about MVP, the promotional company, because I'll talk about the promotional company, is that they're matchmaking. They're really, really doing their best to kind of manufacture a world title fight, right? A world title, like a world champion, at least create a world champion from their promotional company to then hold a legit promotional full world title belt. We'll see what happens. We'll see if they're going to do it. Robert says Crawford is whipping that ass wherever the fight goes, inside or out. But do you see him stopping Canelo? Samuel Champloo. Samurai Champloo. Kyle, how many and when? Laura is Canelo's biological father. I thought Floyd was. MVP is going to be on top one day. It's actually a good promotional company. I like their promotions. You know what they do really well is what, the Paul brothers do really well is the marketing side. And it reminds me of, marketing's everything. Marketing's huge, man, not just in boxing, just in business. Running businesses, starting businesses, investing in businesses, whatever side of the token you're on, marketing is really important. And MVP does, in a short amount of time, kind of have a glossy product. I remember when I was a kid, I didn't grow up with money. We were super poor. Like we were on welfare until I was 14. So I grew up with young parents, and I'll tell the full. I grew up with young parents. They had 4 kids. My mom didn't go back to school. She didn't go to college until I think I was 8 or 9. So by the time I was 14, she graduated college. She was a nurse. She bought a nice house in a nice neighborhood. But those, from the time I remember till I was 13, we were on food stamps. We used to play this thing called the food stamp game, to where it's like 1990. I'm 8 years old in Youngstown, ghetto. And the food stamp game was, at the time, the food stamps, you couldn't buy alcohol or cigarettes with food stamps. You could only buy food. But if you go to the corner stores in my hometown, my parents would say, Johnny, do you want to play the food stamp game? I'm like, let's do it. They give me a $10 food stamp. I get to go to the store by myself. I'm like 7. And I pick out my favorite bag of chips, my favorite Little Debbie snack, be like 50 cents. The guy at the corner store would take the $10 food stamp and give me back real cash. I'd bring back the cash to my parents. They go get beer and cigarettes. Anyway, I referenced that to come full circle to talk about, Jesus, I was on a rant. What the hell was I talking about? Why did I bring that goddamn story up? It was important relevance. Growing up, seeing fake shit. Oh my God, I'm gonna have to rewatch it and then figure I'm on a rant. I'm over an hour into this. Sorry, boys, if I got distracted. Why the hell did I bring that up? I gotta read the comments. Canelo fight stopped in a car wreck. Disease before the fight starts. MVP marketing. Okay, and so I'm back. At that time, what I always liked were shiny magazines, and I remember going into this corner store, and they would sell magazines, and they would have there'd be the ones that were sort of, they looked old, and then there was this car magazine, and it was Mercedes-Benz. And the Mercedes-Benz magazines that would show the catalog of the cars in the hood, anybody even had money to buy those cars, we would just look at the pictures. And then the joke was, with the comedians who were famous at the time would say, people in the hood name their kids after cars they can't afford. So, but the magazine Mercedes marketing was always just simple and shiny. The magazine would be white, the logo would be shiny black, the cars would be simple. There wouldn't be, my point is, what MVP does really well is the marketing. Took me a while, didn't it? Yeah, we got Rafferty. I got Sterling over Ortega. You brought back cash for your parents. Yeah, I brought back cash for my parents from the food stamps so they then could go buy alcohol and cigarettes. And when I bring that up to my mom, she's like, Johnny, don't talk like that. I'm like, no, we talking about everything. So part of even with my girlfriend here, when we go to because none of my family's here, my girlfriend's whole family is here. Every time we have dinner or go to events, she has to have a sit down with me. I call it a run through. So she has to do a run through, like, Johnny, don't bring this up. Don't talk about this. Don't say this. And so my mom's kind of the same way. Johnny, we're going to be around your aunt and uncle. Don't talk about this. I'm like, nope, I'm talking about it. Everything. Anyway, guys, it's 70 minutes in. Carlos says, I grew up on food stamps also. I can relate. Yeah. See, I value it. I never looked at it. I always look at that sort of adversity as a good thing. So it's kind of why I think they should teach boxing in all grade schools, little schools. They should teach boxing everywhere, because I think bullying, as a young person, I don't stand for bullying, but I think there's value in getting bullied 100%. There's value in bullies, especially when you're a little person, knowing how to overcome and circumnavigate without an adult and do it in a way that you're standing up for yourself. You're learning these life skills, and if we nerf everything and put protective barriers around everything, especially for our young children, it's really tough to teach them these lessons that I think can't be given to them, that they have to learn through situations. You know what I'm saying? And so the boxing side of things and coming up through the adversity as a young kid, how, we all have that story. For the most part, we all have that story. And so, yeah, I don't look back on those times, and I look back and laugh. I think they were hilarious because you don't know you're going through something when you're going through it. Unless it's very traumatic, and I don't wish that on anybody. Like, some people have been super traumatized, and that's different. Carlos, my dad was smoking, drink inside the house, but you let it bill as you any person. Mate, I remember my dad would have his boys over watching old Cleveland Browns games. This was late 1980s when the Browns had Bernie Kosar playing quarterback, Webster Slaughter at receiver, Kevin Mack running the ball. We had Eric Metcalf returning punts, and all of his boys would be in our living room watching the game. I'm like 6, hanging out with my dad, and there's a 2-liter can of Coca-Cola, and I grabbed the 2-liter like a little animal. Like, what kid does this? I grabbed the 2-liter, which wasn't mine, like a goddamn savage. I opened it up and drink it, and it was freaking cigarette butts. I'll never forget it, dude. I learned a very important lesson that day. A very important lesson. Not to drink other people's Coca-Cola. Robert Floss, Canelo isn't walking Crawford down. That's a fact. Canelo's not getting stopped, y'all tripping. There we go. The boys heating up. Vega, you wildin' Floss. I don't know what that means. Oh, Robert. Yeah. Big Robert's out here standing on business, though. Boxing fan, Carlos Vargas. Let's keep it copacetic, but let's go back and forth, boys. Canelo, let's talk analytics of how this goes down. This is what I'm talking about. Canelo, it's hard for me to see Crawford walking Canelo down. It's hard for me to see I'm a Crawford fan. It's hard for me. If I had to pick one, Johnny, who are you a fan of? Throughout their career, Canelo or Bud? I'm like, well, I was never a big Canelo guy, never a big Canelo fan. But I was an Errol Spence Jr. fan, and then I became a Bud Crawford fan. But I always watched this fight, so I would say I'm a bigger Bud fan than Canelo. I don't see Bud walking Canelo down. I just don't see it. Dude, Canelo's neck is like this, boys. Canelo's like freaking here. He's here. If Canelo doesn't fight a defensive fight, I don't think he's going to fight a defensive fight, Robert. This is no one. Yeah, I don't think Canelo's going to fight a defensive fight at all. I think we're going to see fireworks off jump. I think the game plan with Canelo, right off jump, Canelo's going to test Bud. I think as soon as round 1 starts, I do not expect Canelo to have a feeling out round. I do not expect Canelo to use the ring. I expect Canelo to see, all right, Bud, what time is it, baby? Like, I told you not to take this fight. We're going to see if you really belong up here, and I'm going to test your durability, and you're going to have to get my respect. You're going to have to hurt me. I don't see Canelo playing it safe. I really don't. I'm not saying that Bud can't stop him. I'm just saying that's what I see playing out. I think that's going to be Canelo's game plan. I think they're going to be two bulls, 100%. Canelo got too much to lose. I want Canelo to press. I think he's going to press Robert. That's what I'm talking about. So when you say, though, that Bud's going to walk him down and stop him, I'm not saying Bud can't stop him. I'm saying I don't see Bud walking him down and stopping him. I think if Canelo does get stopped, it's probably because he's being too aggressive. No feel-out rounds. You hit that right on the head. Yeah, I think we're in for a treat. I do. I never say this, but then again, I get excited when Shakur fights. Like, I'm the only guy who will tell you that I liked the Edwin De Los Santos Shakur Stevenson fight. I liked that fight. I thought it was entertaining. But so my point is, I don't see Canelo waiting for anything. I think he's going to go right at the bell. Boxing, sprinkle first 60-second stoppage. That's so fun. Just do it. UMG, I think Canelo's quick left hook that knockdown Berlanga puts out Crawford. UMG, I could see Canelo stopping Crawford. It's how does Bud stop Canelo? He's so durable. He's durable. He is, mate. He could take a shot. You know, like that kid when we were younger. He was not too bright. You know, didn't really get good grades. He wasn't good at sports. But you knew if like your boys, you know, talked you into a fucking backyard fight with him, you were like, God damn it, dude, I gotta fight this dude. Like he's stupid. Like he's dumb. That means like he's not gonna stop. You gotta hit him with like everything. You gotta hit him with a fire extinguisher. You gotta hit him with like your backpack. That's like Canelo, dude. I don't know if. Then again, man, I don't know. If Bud was, he's 37, 38. I don't know, man. I think he has his odds stacked up against him, but I think that's what makes it so intriguing. Crawford is a real fighter, and this is a real fight, not some glorified sparring like G. You thought Triple G versus Canelo was glorified sparring, mate? Dude, Triple G versus Canelo, the first fight, I thought Triple G beat that ass. I thought Triple G put belt to ass in that first fight, boy. I think one of the biggest sins of my generation of boxing, one of the biggest sins of boxing from like the last 20 years was Triple G to leave that trilogy with not one win. That is freaking insane to me. That's insane to me. If people were going to stop watching the sport, it should have been then. Terrence could hit Canelo with a semi-truck. He ain't stopping him. I'm feeling you on that. Carlos Vargas. Crawford will take a couple rounds. That's it. Skeezy. If Triple G overhand right land a picture perfect on Canelo's shin doesn't change. I know. We've seen. You're talking in Skeezy. We have video evidence of this. It's when Triple G's forcing Canelo to circle out to his left, and he's pressuring him. And then Canelo's using lateral movement. He finally decides to stop and trade, and Triple G lands that bomb, dude. And Canelo's just like, that's that look when you're fighting that kid who wasn't too bright when we were kids, when you're in a fight with him and you're just tagging him. He's just looking at you like, it's like, I don't want to fight you no more, mate. Like, I'm not afraid of losing, but I don't want to fight you no more. This isn't even fun. You need like an Apatai or Better Beef to even hurt. I know, dude. And Apatai and Better Beef are giants. Canelo pound for pound. People, dude, Canelo's a goddamn animal. I put, Canelo and Crawford are pound for pound. Triple G 2-1 versus Canelo, but how many body shots did he throw? Did he throw one punch with conviction? I think we called that punch out, man. There's conviction. You got to understand, Triple G's power wasn't one of these sort of guys who, with like a Deontay Wilder backhand. It was just sort of like kind of how Better Beef, that thudding power, dude. Relentless. Man, he was fun to watch. Triple G was fun to watch. People were like, Johnny, what fight, if you had a time machine, you would make? I would love to see Kelly Pavlik versus Triple G when they're both in their prime. Oh, that's a fight I would love to see. I would be front row for that. Pavlik versus Triple G, mate, 160 pounds. God damn, that would have been fun. Sky for the knockout. Yeah, of course. That's the one, boys. I think I'm not taking credit for anything, but I think it's my fault those odds crashed. Only because Sky shared the bet. When we got Sky Nicholson sharing our bets on social media, we're doing something. That was hilarious. A lot of boxers follow me, but she doesn't. And yeah, she shared it. Obviously, it makes her look good. I know that. Obviously she sees in the comment. But I think when she shared it, everyone was like, "Oh shit." Was there something in the contract saying Triple G can't throw a body shot? I think Robert Floss, the body shot question is because Canelo's hooks, Canelo, especially there, when you're working the body and you have a relentless pressure forward style and you're not sort of tap in and kind of feeling out and framing and countering, and you're on your front foot and you want to go to a guy like Canelo to his body, you're running and you're sitting down, you're running the risk of getting caught with that hook. You know what I'm saying? And that was probably his reasoning. I'd have to rewatch all three. It's really hard for me to think that Triple G didn't throw any body shots. UFC Zhang, Sterling, Acosta. Let's go. Yeah, I think Zhang's a safe bet. Zhang by knockout. Why are we playing? I like Zhang by knockout. You know, probably Brian's super, you know, he's tough in the octagon. It's just getting him to the fights where he's not terrible. And Acosta plus 500. Yeah, Acosta used to be a pitcher. I think isn't Acosta from the DR? He's a baseball player. Played for the Cincinnati Reds, their minor league organization. Robert Floss, I'm going to tell you right now, Crawford is going to run Canelo. Oh, okay, that's why you're asking. Dude, Bud has great body work. Dude, Bud's body work is amazing. Yeah, but he better set that up, Robert. What he's going to have to do, though, you just can't rush into a game plan investing in the body before you have other things figured out. And one of those other things better be that you have at least tasted your opponent's power enough to trust that body work, you're not going to get countered. You better have your opponent's speed down. You better have his timing down. You better be feinting, which Bud does all of that really well. He does all of that really well. Canelo is definitely not Porter. Yeah, it's a good chat to have. No, it's so Robert Floss answered us. Bud's path to victory will be breaking down Canelo to the body. So you're saying he's going to walk him down, you know, jab heavy approach initially, walk him down, work the body. Canelo's going to start fading, exiting. It's really hard to see, mate. I'm not saying it can't happen. And you passed the test, mate. This is why you know, I'm glad you're here, because you gave us a path to victory at least. You didn't just say Bud because I like Bud. It's a logical path to victory. The question is, and this is why it's so intriguing, is does that work against Canelo? You know what I'm saying? I think people are kind of jumping the gun thinking that the Canelo against Skull was a real fight in terms of it was a real fight. It was sanctioned. Come on, guys. We knew that the only way to sell it, this would have to be for undisputed. We know Skull had the belt. We know we know the IBF stripped Canelo for it, as they always do with whatever they want to do. And then he had to fight Skull, and Canelo's like, do I have to fight this dude? Like this, I don't. And then he did what he had to do to not get touched. That fight was horrific. That was the best thing about Skull versus Canelo was every time Skull would use his lateral movement, his shoes would have gold dust sprinkling onto the canvas. That was literally my favorite thing about that fight. At least with Shakur versus Edwin De Los Santos, you had Edwin De Los Santos pressuring forward, trying to end the fight, and Shakur using his defense and skills playing Matador. I love that fight. I've watched that fight multiple times, and I'll stand on that hill. I like Shakur versus Edwin De Los Santos. That was an entertaining fight because you're watching a dude like Edwin, all jacked up, one plan of attack, just running in, and he can't even touch him. Can't even touch. Shakur's like, come on, man. That shit was impressive. Skull gave Canelo the close. No, he didn't. Skull gave Canelo a close fight? What? What do you mean? Oh, on the scorecards. Yeah, but people were saying that. I heard Gary, and if I was on a live right now with Gary, I would tell him right to his face. He thinks Canelo's washed. I'm like, I don't see that, man. You think to say Canelo's washed is wild. He has been a pro since he was 16 years old. Canelo went pro in 2008, I think, which is wild. Wait till you see Crawford's legs for this fight. Skull gave Canelo the closest fight on the scorecards. I didn't see that comment, Kyle. I'll be here for it. Going to be good. Carlos, you already know. Frank B, Zhang, Niraji, Body, Rafferty. Let's go. We're eating. Guys, we're approaching an hour and a half. I got a box, so I got... this is probably my longest live. I appreciate you, boys. I appreciate the super chats. UMG, it's good to have you in the building. Guys, if you haven't joined our Johnny Says Boxing Insider group, get access to our Discord, support me, support the channel's growth. It's a couple bucks a month. You get more access on my page here. You get more features on the YouTube channel. You get accessibility to myself on other social media channels. But more importantly, boys, you'll be in the Discord with professional bettors, professional gamblers, and you'll be able to have 24-hour access to this chat, basically. I'll leave it on for one more because the chat's interesting. I'm gonna take UMG's. I'm gonna take Robert Floss's last one because Robert's put a lot of energy into it as well. UMG says too much things Crawford needs to do perfectly while Canelo just has to push the pace, be the aggressor, and land those shots, which he will. Frank B, we appreciate you. Robert then says, I'm in the arena, $2,000 seats, and I'll be talking shit. Yes, this is why we got time for you, Robert Floss. You better be talking shit. I'm in the arena, $2,000 seats. I'll be talking shit the whole fight, going wild with every punch. I fully expect to get... Nah, you're not going to get jumped. I fully expect to get jumped. Can't wait. My boy going to... Dude, why would you think you're going to get... You're going to get jumped. That's insane. But then again, I got soft in my old age, boys. I guess I've been in Sydney for too long. The idea that we can't go to a fight and talk shit, like in Sydney, there's no threat of getting jumped. But maybe you are. maybe. It sounds to me that you want to get jumped, though. You're a wild man. Lurgal, Johnny, did you take Tyre Jones over Alexander Rios? I'm gonna put the parlay up in the Discord to answer you, Lurgal. I'm putting it up in the Discord. I'm from Cali, bro. Yeah, Robert, what part of Cali do you live in? This is for that. So funny. What part of Cali are you in? Jack Turner's on upset alert. Not Tyre. I'm not taking Tyre over Rios. Jack Turner's on upset alert. You think so? Oh, you're in Laguna. All right. I lived in the 562 for 7 years, so I know what you're talking about. I lived in Long Beach, California from 2004 to 2011. So yeah, Laguna was my spot, man. The best taco stand in the world, dude. Right on that little main Dragon Main Street. It used to be on the left. It was like they didn't even have a place to eat in. You had to just walk up. We'd park the ocean's on the right. There was like an old IGA or Ralph's on the other side, maybe some under pier parking. But there's that little taco stand, dude, right on the left of Pacific, going through Laguna, coming from the LB. I think about those tacos like once every 3 weeks. The Baja Fish Taco, mate. All time my favorite Baja Fish Taco off the meat rack. See, the thing is, boxing fan, I don't think Robert wants a bodyguard. Like, it sounds to me like he's probably going to want the smoke to come his way. Like, welcoming it, which I got time for. I respect that. Hats off. Don't need one. All right, boys, I got to run. We'll be in touch.